What up, y'all? This is your boy, Mr. Downtown Ray Melo, and you're listening to the Entertainment Report on iHeartRadio for Monday, June 8th, 2015, delivering some major stories and trends going on in the world of entertainment and beyond. You can follow the show on Facebook or on Twitter, facebook.com/The Entertainment Report with Ray Melo. That's RAYMELO, or on Twitter @The Enter Report. You can listen to the show anytime you want on iHeartRadio. Just go to iHeart.com, search for The Entertainment Report, and it'll take you to the page. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. Sorry, Broadway fans, America would rather watch its best play on the hardcore than sing and dance on a hardwood stage. Game 2 of the NBA Finals on ABC, another overtime affair, crushed CBS's Tony Awards on Sunday night in Nielsen's TV ratings. The Best of Broadway's celebration fell 25% year over year to a new all-time low. Meanwhile, the second championship contest between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors was up 22% from last year's. The pregame show NBA Countdown rose to 48% year over year. The primetime tip-off Jimmy Kimmel Live Game Night rose 23% from its incomparable special on June 8, 2014. ABC was first in ratings with a 5.3 rating out of 18 in the advertisers' coveted 18 to 49 demographic, and in total viewers with an average of 13.9 million, according to preliminary numbers. CBS was in second in ratings with a 0.9 out of 3, and in viewers with 6.8 million. NBC was third in ratings with a 0.7 out of 2, and in viewers with 4.1 million. Brad Pitt's War Machine will stream on Netflix and be seen in selected theaters next year. The company announced the acquisition of the satirical comedy directed by David Michon, who directed Animal Kingdom, on Monday. Michon has also wrote the movie based on the Michael Hastings best-selling book, The Wild and Terrifying inside story of America's war in Afghanistan, while Pitt and his Plan B partners, Dede Gardner and Jeremy Kleiner, will produce, along with Ian Bryce, who produced World War Z. War Machine follows a 4-star General Pitt, whose impeccable track record lands him to command the American war in Afghanistan. Principal photography is scheduled to start in August. Pitt said in a statement, "We are so excited to be part of the inspiring commitment by Netflix to produce cutting-edge content and to deliver it to a global audience." And Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos added, "War Machine is a rip-roaring behind the facade tale of modern war decision-making, from the corridors of powers to the distant regions of America's ambitions. Brad and David are a perfect team to make this timely, compelling, and entertaining film." Larry Kramer, the president and publisher of USA Today, is leaving the newspaper as parent company Gannett prepares to split into two. According to a storm of tweets from journalists at the paper and an internal memo from Bill Dickey, who will become CEOs of Gannett's Publishing when the broadcast, digital, and print businesses separate later this month, Kramer will join the board of the new publishing company. Kramer was named publisher in 2012. Dickey said that the search for Kramer's replacement is underway. His departure comes as the board of Gannett voted formally Monday morning to approve the split, which will create two publicly traded companies, a broadcast and digital company called Tegna, and New Gannett, which will retain the name Gannett Company and include its publishing properties and affiliated digital assets. Under the terms of the transition, Gannett shareholders will retain their shares of Gannett, which will be renamed Tegna, and receive 1 share of New Gannett's for every 2 shares of Gannett's stocks they owned on the record date of June 22, 2015. According to Dickey, Kramer's will leave USA Today effective at the time of the corporate split. Gracia Matori, president and CEO of Gannett, will serve as president and CEO of Tegna upon completion of separation. She said in a statement, "In just 3 weeks, we will create 2 industry leaders that will benefit greatly from enhanced strategic, operating, financial, and regulatory flexibility. As independent companies, we believe strongly that this transaction will enhance performances, unlock shareholder values, give investors access to more targeted investment opportunities with trading valuations, then better reflected the distinctive characterizations of and growth profiles of both companies." Pop star Ariana Grande lashed out against double standards and misogyny in the media in a lengthy message to her fans on Sunday. Upset about constantly being asked questions about her romantic life, Grande took to Twitter to write that she is, quote, tired of living in a world where women are mostly referred to as a man's past, present, and future property possession. Grande wrote, I come from a long bloodline of female activists. My Aunt Judy was the first Italian-American female president of the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. I think she would have been proud of me for speaking up about something that has been bothering me personally for so long. She also continued, I know y'all already know this, but the double standard and misogyny are still present. I can't wait to live in a world where people are not valued by who they're dating, married to, attached to, having sex with, or not seen with, but by their value as an individual. The post goes on to say that since announcing her breakup with Big Sean in April, Grande has been happily single. She said, I have never felt more present, grounded, and satisfied. I've never laughed so harder or had more fun and enjoyed my life more. Grande closed the note with a quote from feminist activist Gloria Steinem. Any woman who chooses to behave like a fully human being should be warned that the armies of the status quo will treat her as something of a dirty joke. She will need her sisterhood. Joseph Gordon-Levitt says that progress on the big screen adaptation of the comic series The Sandman is progressing at a slow but steady pace. Gordon-Levitt said in an interview with MTV at Spike Guy's Choice Awards on Sunday, it's really a complicated adaptation because those comics, they're brilliant, but they're not written as a whole. It's not like Watchmen, which is a graphic novel that has a beginning, middle, and end. He also added, Sandman was written over the course of whatever, I forgot exactly, 6 or 7 years, one at a time, one little 20-page issue at a time, and to try to take and make it into something that's a feature film, a movie that has a beginning, middle, and end is complicated. The actor who made his directorial debut in 2013 with Don John also said the film will not only rely on comic book movie cliches. He said big spectacular action movies are generally about crime fighters fighting crime and blowing shit up. This has nothing to do with that, and it was actually one of those things that Neil Gaiman said to me. He said, don't have any punching, because he never does. If you read the comics, Morpheus doesn't punch anyone. That's not what he does. The Sandman was published by DC Comics imprint Vertigo. The series focuses on Morpheus, the king of dreams, as he attempts to rebuild his kingdom after being held prisoner for 70 years. Gordon-Levitt is attached to direct the project, as well as produce alongside David S. Goyer. Jack Thorne is writing the script. Comedy Central has renewed Ari Sharif's comedic storytelling series, This Is Not Happening, for an 8-episode second season in 2016. This Is Not Happening features Sharif, pictured above, and his comic buddies telling funny true stories in front of a live audience at Cheetahs in Hollywood. Guest comedians in Season 1 included Rob Cordy, D.L. Hewley, Keegan-Michael Key, Bert Kreschner, Mark Maron, Steve Renazizi, Joe Rogan, and Paul Scheer. Each episode features a custom opening that puts Sharif in a ludicrous situation dreamed up by director Tom Sick. This Is Not Happening originally debuted as a digital series on ComedyCentral.com. The site will continue to feature exclusive digital stories through the run of the new episodes. Victoria Siegel, daughter of Queen of Versailles subjects David and Jacqueline Siegel, died on Sunday. She was 18 years old. The Orlando Sentinel reported that Victoria was found unresponsive in the family's home around 2 p.m. before being taken to Health Center Hospital in Ocoee, Florida, where she died. An autopsy has been completed, but details on the death have not been released. Jacqueline confirmed her daughter's passing and asked for privacy in a Facebook post published Sunday. She wrote, It is with great sadness that we ask you to respect our privacy during this tragic time and the loss of our beloved daughter, Victoria. Thank you for all your prayers and for your support. As more information comes out of the family, we'll share it. Until that time, there's no comment. The Siegels were featured in the 2012 documentary Queen of Versailles, which follows the family as they build a 90,000 square foot estate on the outskirts of Orlando. Most recently, the family appeared on an episode of ABC's Celebrity Wife Swap. Anthony Riley, a frontrunner on the most recent season of NBC's The Voice, has died at the age of 28 after an apparent suicide. Riley's inspired the fastest four-chair turnaround in the reality singing competition history. News of his death broke on Friday evening via the fan site Ricky.org after several of Riley's friends expressed their grief on social media. A comment from a man identifying himself as Riley's best friend, Bobby Parsons, confirmed the news to Yahoo Music. He wrote, Anthony passed away Tuesday. He wasn't found until Friday. Parsons told Yahoo. His sister called me at 7:30 yesterday to tell me. I called the friend he had been living with, Bobby Iveen, and Bobby was in tears. And he said, Robbie, it's true. Parsons added, Anthony was a gentle soul. Just a loving, caring, gentle person is what he was. Parsons later corroborated reports that Riley took his own life. In a statement to the Wrap, NBC said, we are sad over the passing of Anthony Riley. We offer our deepest condolences to his friends and family during this very difficult time. Riley abruptly left Season 8 of The Voice, citing personal reasons. It was later revealed that he actually dropped out of The Voice in January to enter a 2-week rehabilitation program for substance abuse. The Philadelphia street performer revealed to Philly.com that he told Voice producers after his ongoing addiction problems shortly after his successful battle run was taped in January. Producers then flew Riley back home, where he entered a rehab facility. Riley told Philly.com at the time, The Voice wasn't working for me, and I felt like I needed to go instead of taking on more responsibility that I can handle. You Can't Mess with Birdman. Actually, actor Michael Keaton, who had the title role in the Best Picture winner at last year's Academy Awards, or his beloved baseball team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. At least not without hearing about it, as a fan found out after he heckled Pirates star Andrew McCutchen repeatedly in their Major League Baseball game against the hosting Atlanta Braves at Turner Field on Friday night. Keaton, who also starred in a Batman movie earlier in his career, walked over to where the heckler was seated and delivered his best blast of trash talk when the fan wouldn't let up on McCutchen even after Pirates won 10-8 victory. There was no video of the incident, no specifics on exactly what Keaton said, but he may have made his biggest point without words. Just before returning his seat, he looked at the heckler and pointed to the scoreboard, which showed his beloved Bucks in the lead. Chaos erupted Sunday night outside an urban music concert in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where Chris Brown and rappers Big Sean and Kendrick Lamar were set to perform. Group fights broke out, bottles were thrown, and other disturbances were reported outside the venue, according to CBS 2 New York. Police in riot gear descended on the stadium and fired tear gas to control the crowds at the Summer Jam concert sponsored by New York's Hot 97 radio station. One state trooper was injured, according to local media reports, though the extent of his injuries was not known. The stadium was placed on temporary lockdown, and an armed tank emitted a high-pitched whistle was brought in to disperse hundreds of spectators from the parking lot. Multiple arrests were made. Fans, including filmmaker Nimi Hendrix, posted photos of police in riot gear on their social media accounts. Chart-topping singer Brown also posted an Instagram photo of himself on stage. The life of Bobbi Kristina Brown was even more tragic than many suspected, if the claims in the new book are to believe. Ian Haparin's unauthorized biography, Whitney and Bobbi Kristina, The Daily Price of Fame, paints the daughter of the late singer Whitney Houston and R&B star Bobby Brown as a wild child who grew up without the guidance of her mother because Houston was too consumed by her own drug problems. The book also claims that Bobbi Kristina was addicted to drugs and suicidal by the age of 14. Houston died in 2012 at the age of 48, while Brown, 22, was found face down and unresponsive in the bathtub of her Georgia home in January. Her grandmother, Cissy Houston, says that Brown has, quote, globally irreversible brain damage and is not progressing at all. Haparin's book claims Bobbi Kristina was running with a troubled crowd, including boyfriend Nick Gordon, just before she fell ill. A friend of Brown's told Haparin's in an expert published by the New York Daily News, the crowd she hung out with was out of control. The past couple of years she hung with a bunch of crazies. They were wild and reckless. Brown was rushed to Norfolton Hospital in Roswell, Georgia on January 31st. She was later moved to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta and reportedly transferred to a medical rehabilitation facility at the end of March. Halperin, whose previous works include Unmasked: The Final Years of Michael Jackson and Who Killed Kurt Cobain, spent months working on Whitney and Bobbi Kristina's The Daily Price of Fame. The book will be released on June 9th by Gallery Books. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's earthquake epic San Andreas rolled into China and took in $51 million in its debut, fueling $97.8 million weekend at the overseas box office. That meant the 3D Disaster Saga was the top-grossing movie abroad for the second week in a row, with a total of $188 million. Its $27 million second-week domestic haul lifted on San Andreas to just under $100 million total. So the $110 million special effect extravaganza is bearing down on $300 million in global grosses for New Line and Warner Brothers and co-financier Village Roadshow. The big weekend for San Andreas, directed by Brad Payton and produced by Beau Flynn, allowed its turn the tables on Melissa McCarthy's Spy, which beat the earthquake epic at the North American box office. The R-rated comedy, directed by Paul Feig, took $25.6 million from abroad from 55 markets and was the runner-up internationally. With its $30 million domestic Spy, brought in roughly $56 million in its first week of global release for Fox. Jason Blum's micro-budgeted Insidious Chapter 3 was third domestically and third globally as well. It took in $14.3 million from 43 markets in its overseas debut for Sony, which is handling it overseas. Focus feature niche label Gramercy Pictures is distributing domestically. Warner Brothers can also celebrate Mad Max Fury Road, a co-production with Village Roadshow, which has crossed the $300 million mark at the worldwide box office. Written and directed by George Miller, the action extravaganza starring Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron took in $11 million from 71 foreign markets this weekend to lift its international total to $185 million and $315 million worldwide. Overseas will be the key to profitability for the $150 million production. Pitch Perfect, Universal's musical comedy starring Rebel Wilson and Anna Kendrick's top $250 million globally this weekend. It's up to $160 million domestically and $89 million overseas, well over the $50 million mark from abroad than the original film managed. Melissa McCarthy's R-rated Spy captured the top spot at the North American box office this weekend with a $30 million debut, dethroning the earthquake epic San Andreas and holding off Jason Blum's micro-budgeted horror sequel Insidious 3, Chapter 3, and the biggest screen version of the HBO TV hit Entourage. The debut of Spy was enough to hold off Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Disaster Saga, which was second with $26.4 million, third place Insidious 3, which scared up to $23 million, and Entourage, which debuted with $17.8 million for 5 days. McCarthy's Spy opening is better than that of Tammy, her last starring role, which opened to $21.5 million last July, and Bridesmaids, which debuted with $26 million in May of 2011, but it didn't bring the heat of The Heat, her body cop movie with Sandra Bullock. That one was also directed by Paul Feig, produced by Chiron Entertainment, and distributed by Fox like Spy, and opened to $39 million in June of 2013. San Andreas and this weekend's two wide openers. The first release of Focus Features niche label Gramercy Pictures, Insidious 3, and Warner Brothers' Entourage delivered as expected, but with Spy coming in the $35 million projections of analysts, the overall weekend was just down from last year for the third consecutive week, this time by 17%. It's probably nothing that Universal's Jurassic Park, which is expected to top $100 million when it debuts on Friday, won't cure, but this wasn't the sort of weekend that will help 2015 break a summer record, as many analysts believe it will. Insidious 3 was nearly a win going in because of its under $5 million dollar budget. It was number one ahead of Spy on Friday, and an audience dominated by young women and Hispanics is a winning strategy that Blumhouse Productions has employed repeatedly to score with horror hits, and it worked well. The audience was 54% female and nearly 70% under the age of 25, and nearly they gave the film a solid B-plus cinema score. The horror fans are notoriously hard graders, and it's a decent 59% positive on Rotten Tomatoes, so it could break the pattern of most genre offerings and not drop off the table next weekend. Lee Whannell wrote and directed this installment after winning the first two films, which were directed by his pal James Wan, who is producing with Oren Peli and Bloom. Darren Mulroney, Stephanie Scott, and horror veteran Lynn Shay co-star along with Whannell. Entourage looks like it will eventually be a financial winner for Warner Brothers, giving its modest $27 million budget and synergy with Time Warner Corporation's sibling HBO, but it took a late rally Saturday to get there. The Entourage audience was dominated by the East Coast from Wednesday when it opened, and it looked as if the tracking was on the money with its $15 million projection for the 5 days. Dan Feldman, Warner Brothers' domestic distribution head, said, "We were very pleased that we finally got the West Coast audience to wake up." It did, and with 4 of the 5 highest-grossing theaters in Los Angeles and San Francisco Saturday, was up 3% from Friday. That was critical to its success, since writer-director Doug Ellen's freewheeling take on life in Hollywood was never going to do big business in the South or in the Heartland. Warner Brothers also celebrated Mad Max Fury Road, a co-production with Village Roadshow, which again crossed $300 million at the worldwide box office on Saturday. Written and directed by George Miller, the action extravaganza starring Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron was fifth with $8.1 million in its fourth weekend. It's held well throughout its domestic run, and it's up to $130 million, but overseas is the key to profitability for the $150 million production. The fortunes of the R-rated road rage romp Mad Max has been tied to Pitch Perfect's 2, Universal Musical's comedy starring Rebel Wilson and Anna Kendrick, since they opened against each other on May 15th. Pitch Perfect 2 is up to $160 million domestically after the PG-13 rated comedy written by Kay Cannon and directed and co-produced by Elizabeth Banks finished 6th with $7.7 million. Tomorrowland, the Brad Bird directed sci-fi adventure starring George Clooney, was 7th with $7.3 million for the weekend. That will put the domestic total for Tomorrowland at around $77 million and its worldwide haul at roughly $150 million. Aloha, the romantic comedy written and directed by Cameron Crowe and starring Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone, continued to underachieve for Sony. It took in $3.3 million, a steep 66% drop from its soft opening last weekend, to finish 9th. Love and Mercy, a low-budget biopic about Beach Boys' Brian Wilson, finished just outside the top 10 with $2.2 million for Roadside Attractions and Lionsgate. Paul Dano played Wilson in his early years, and John Cusack plays him when he's older in the PG-13 rated film directed by Bill Folan. Elizabeth Banks and Paul Giamatti co-star. And that is your entertainment report for Monday, June 8th, 2015. I'm your host, Mr. Downtown Ray Melo. I'll be back tomorrow to deliver some of the major stories and trends going on in the world of entertainment and beyond. You can follow the show on Facebook or on Twitter, facebook.com/The Entertainment Report with Ray Melo. That's RAYMELO, or on Twitter at The Enter Report. You can listen to this episode or any previous episodes of The Entertainment Report on iHeartRadio. Just go to iHeart.com, search for The Entertainment Report, and it'll take you to the page. Good night, and God bless you all. Bye.